What's up, people? You're listening and watching the RAPS Talk podcast presented by HipHoopJunkies.com and HoopHeadsNorth.com, Hoopstock out of Halifax, and our sponsors, FanEssentials.net. My name is Romy Aquino. I have with me
Jean-Francois, what's up, what's up?
And
Yui Sampang, straight up this time.
what's up? Yeah, so we're a few days out of the Game 6 loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, 113-87. This is just more of a post-playoff podcast. We're going to just kind of talk about the highlights of this year, the playoffs, some of the players, and kind of what we expect in the offseason. But season's over. How would you grade this season for the Toronto Raptors as an overall product?
A minus, B plus, A minus.
Yeah,
Right around there.
Yui?
I'd say an A. I mean, I'm sure you don't like the fact that they got blown out in Game 6 and they had uneven performances and whatnot, but at the beginning of the season, what were your expectations? Like, you really could not expect them to beat Cleveland to go to the finals. And the strides that everybody made, pretty much everybody moved in the right direction. So that's what I say.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, you have to give it. I mean, an A, at least because it's just. I mean, just the way they performed. I mean, it wasn't pretty. I mean, the playoffs weren't pretty. I mean, 2 7-game series. I mean, it wasn't like a consistent performance from the Raptors this season. But overall, I mean, 7 games against the Pacers, 7 games in Miami. They played well, like in those bounce back games, in both those series. I mean, Lowry and DeRozan. I mean, the storyline in the beginning was just the shooting and the inconsistencies. But I mean, when they needed to step up, they stepped up and were able to get past those guys. What was your guys' favorite moment, I guess, from this year's playoffs?
Getting out of the first round, getting that monkey off their back. You know, they had seen zero success in the playoffs with this, iteration of the team, and hadn't seen any real playoff success since 2001. So for me, that was a huge step. And then everything after that just kind of kept building on it. But for me, that was the big thing, getting out of that first round.
For me specifically, oh jeez, I hope I fully remember. Was it Game 5 of the Indiana series where they were down big and had that great fourth quarter with a good defense that came unexpectedly out of nowhere?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think so.
Yeah, where they didn't want to go down 3-2 and then have to face a Game 6 elimination game in Indiana.
Right.
And they just really pulled it out, like hit a gear that we had never seen them hit before as this core group. And to be able to pull it out, like, you didn't think that was possible until they did it. And I just remember I was flying out of my seat like, yes, this is what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And then after that, they even had a couple full games after that where they really put it together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's been some great performances. JV, I mean, before the injury, I mean, he was playing phenomenal basketball, and I think that was kind of my favorite moment. It's just kind of watching JV step into that next level. I mean, there've always been criticism from the fans that he wasn't getting enough minutes, they weren't using him enough, and I think kind of Coach Casey kind of figured it out. And I mean, and JV himself, I mean, he stepped up and I mean, he was just a beast, and he's capable of so much. And I think he would have been awesome, I think, if he had played the whole series. But just watching the development of JV in this playoffs, I mean, I thought that's great, and it's going to be great for the future. I mean, just to see him take it to another level. Anything else that you guys want? Like, who else did you like? What about Biyombo? What do you guys think about Biyombo, especially in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that he was able to step in some key games and really give an incredible effort. and really stepped up when the team needed him most. I really appreciated that from him. And, just a guy that didn't need the basketball, right? Like, he did everything else that the Raptors really needed, from players, especially role players. And so I really appreciated that from his game. Unfortunately, in the end, it wasn't enough. But the games that he was able to really step up and shine, especially Game 3 and 4 of the conference finals against Cleveland, those were some big performances that he'll never forget, and Raptors fans will always remember.
Yeah, and the intensity that he brought and just kind of how he rallied everybody with his effort. I think he was what everybody was expecting from DeMar Carroll, but from different positions, obviously. But DeMar couldn't deliver because of the injury issues. So, something maybe he can bring next year to add to already what Biyombo has done for that defensive mentality that Casey's been trying to push for the last couple of years now.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, DeMar Carroll came out in his most recent blog post on his website and said that he wasn't even healthy through the playoffs, but he wanted to, step up for the team, for Toronto, and for Canada, and do what he could, for the franchise, because he knew that's what the franchise brought him in for. So, hats off to him for, stepping up and playing through, I'm sure, a whole host of injuries.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Hopefully, DeMar is going to be. We'll see a different DeMar next season, and because I think he was kind of brought in to be, that defensive stopper, and especially, having faced LeBron before last season with the Atlanta Hawks, we would expect him to kind of step up again and perform for the Raptors, and I don't think he was. I don't think he showed the player. Show the skills that he's capable of. Especially in the defensive end. I think he kind of. He didn't perform. He did have some. He did have some highlights this season and in the playoffs. But I think he's capable of much more. And like you were saying, Sean, I think he was playing through some injuries that. He didn't. He only got a few reps, a few games in the end of the regular season. So I think he had to kind of work his way through it. But hopefully, we'll expect something different next season.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about DeMar and Kyle. What did you guys think of? This was kind of a test for this group to see how they could perform in the Eastern Conference, and what did you think about what we have in terms of DeMar and Kyle, and where they can take this team? Do you think they can be the leaders, or do you think there has to be another piece? Another marquee player to kind of help this team along to go farther in the Eastern Conference playoffs next year.
Go ahead, Yui.
I think you guys know my stance on it. Lowry's a great leader, and DeMar's a great scorer, and Lowry does all the things to help the team whichever way, whether it's scoring or on the defensive end and just the intensity. But I think the key is going to be the others, and specifically JV, showing what he did this season, and then showing what he was able to do in the playoffs, even little things that he was able to do. There's a few times where he was up at the three-point line and finding cutters, which bodes well for his ability to find guys cutting out of the double team. So I would like to see things more offensively, more focused around him, and then work around what JV brings to the table. Because DeMar and Kyle got to realize that if JV is going, he's going to make things one hell of a lot easier for those other two, and maybe even for those two to kind of save up their energy, get JV involved, get everybody else involved, and then maybe have them as closers where they might be guarded one-on-one, as opposed if JV is established early and they have to really key on him. So, everybody likes to talk about this big three crap, but you look at who's Golden State's big three? Just off the top of your head, who's Golden State's big three?
Clay, Stephen, Draymond.
Draymond.
And
Yeah.
who won the Finals MVP last year?
Iguodala.
Exactly. And who stepped up for Golden State? Who did Kerr mention to step up for Golden State that they needed to perform well in both games 5 and 6?
I don't know if I heard his post-game comments.
Oh, it was pregame. Anyways, it was Bogut. And
Okay.
Bogut had like a 15 point, 15 rebound, some assists, some blocks game. So, I mean, you can talk all you want about big three and big whatever and big superstars and big two with OKC, but even OKC didn't even perform well, didn't get it done unless they had Steven Adams, Waiters, and Roberson and Ibaka, all those guys going. So it's a team game.
Mhm.
So, I mean, they've done their job to this point. One thing I'd like to see them do is definitely is learn to deal with double teams and recognize them earlier, because that was when the series was game over, because they couldn't handle double teams once Cleveland started doing it more consistently.
Yeah.
But in terms of that, like, yeah, I mean, what's your take on it? I still have more to say. I could talk,
Yeah, no,
I could
keep
talk
going.
about this for days.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, keep going.
And another aspect, like everybody always says, okay, let's bring in free agents. We need a marquee free agent. You really think the Raptors are going to get KD? You really think they're going to get these players?
Yeah.
They haven't established that kind of San Antonio like thing with the rest of the league where it's a destination to go to. And you look, who's the free agent system trying to bring in big name free agents? Who's that worked out for in the last few years? Miami, 2008 Celtics. Who has it not worked for? Lakers,
Mhm.
Houston
Yep.
Rockets. This isn't fantasy basketball where you just take the guys who put up the most stats. The pieces have to fit.
That's right.
Has it worked for Dallas, clearing their salary caps? No, because no one wants to go there. Even Dallas is a great city and good management, and nobody wants to go there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can clear all the cap space. You can clear all the cap space you want, but, I mean, the Raptors have people who want to play there, and they've said the right things. You know, it's going to be interesting to see if Biyombo actually does, you know, after agents are in his ear and whatnot, if he's still going to want to stay and take a discount, and if DeRozan's going to want to take a discount. But if they can pull that off and sign those two, that's a big step towards being like a kind of San Antonio model franchise that makes them a destination where people will go to say, this is a place I want to go to because I want to win.
Yeah, no, I think that being able to retain both Bismack and DeMar's services will be key. How they are able to do that remains to be seen just financially. At the press conference the other day that Masai Ujiri had with the media, he said that they were going to have to be inventive in finding ways to be able to, you know, make that work financially. So we'll have to just keep our eyes and ears in close to see how that plays out. But I agree, Yui, that would be massive. I mean, you know, people they say that every year. Oh yeah, well we'll just get so and so, and it's like, yeah, well, really, is that marquee free agent really going to come to Toronto? Like, the best players the Raptors have ever had are ones they've drafted. you know,
exactly.
And Vince left and Bosch left. You know, so DeMar is kind of the next one, you know what I mean? And can they retain him? He says he wants to stay. We'll see if it happens. Hopefully he does. They're starting to win. Like they've said, it seems like the Raptors got a step closer than they expected to. They're a step closer in the process of getting to where they want to be. I know that MLSC has told Masai Ujiri that he's allowed. He has the permission to spend money. So if it means going into luxury tax, if he has to, like, that's an option for him. But he also knows that if he does that, the expectations are even higher because it's okay. You spent this money. Now you got to show the W's. You got to show why it was worth spending that money. So I'm also interested to see what direction they go there. Do they trade any of the pieces? How do they fill in a couple key spots? I'll be very interested to see what subtle and major moves the Raptors are up to make going into the postseason. Not to mention the 9th overall draft pick, which I'm sure you want to get into at some point, Romy.
Yeah, we could just, we'll just talk about everything now. The first off with the Biombo thing, do you think the money he's going to command, even if it's at a discount, do you want to spend that money on Biombo, knowing that you have JV?
That's
to come off the bench, as your backup center.
Right. It's a great question. But if JV goes down, like he did this year in the regular season and in the playoffs, you don't want to be scrambling for putting some random 4 in at the 5 spot and having to play small. So he definitely has value to the team, not only for what he brings, but also as a insurance policy almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
expensive insurance policy, of course. But proved his worth this year twice, right?
I also like to think in terms of compare it to drafting. Like drafting, do you draft for position, for your needs, or do you draft for talent? And this is a case that's obviously not to the same extent, but keeping Westbrook and KD together, where they're on paper their kind of skills clash with each other, but the progress they made, and obviously it would have been a little more pronounced if they actually made it to the finals this year, but they have definitely taken steps.
Brand new coach.
When you have talent, you can find ways to make it work. Mm-hmm. And to just give up on the talent because we already have that position, they have options. Biombo has shown the ability to guard certain 4s, and who knows, centers have a tendency to get into foul trouble, and JV has in the past as well, and a tendency to get injured, and other teams are going small. You see what Steven Adams, when he and Cantor were on the floor at the same time, what they could do. So, maybe going big instead of other teams going small and punishing them on the boards, offensive boards. There's always that option. So, if he's willing to take a discount, it looks like it would have to be a pretty decent discount, and then DeMar would have to take a discount as well. They can find a way to make it work more than just backup center.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, they've got pieces too. I think Terrence Ross is a piece that I think now the Raptors and Masai can use because he has been performing better than in the previous season. And then they've got the 2 draft picks. The 9th pick and the 27th pick. Terrence Ross and those draft picks. Do you see those picks being moved in a trade or in some other in some other form, or do you think Masai's going to keep them?
I have a feeling that he's going to probably try and get a feel for, once the draft workouts are done and kind of, it's almost impossible to know what other teams are going to pick, especially that many picks ahead of you, 8 picks ahead of you. But I think he may try to determine, who are their target guys? Do they have a legitimate chance of getting those target guys? If so, they probably keep the pick and try and get one of them. If not, maybe they do come up with a package and, along with Terrence Ross or whatever, and send them off. You alluded to Terrence Ross there, Romy, so I'm presuming that you're of the belief that it's time to move on with regards to his services. I personally do. I have nothing against the guy personally. I think he's a talented player, but he has not been able to find that consistency in his game where he's been able to be an effective member off the bench more often than not. Not in the same way that Corey Joseph has. Not in the same way that Patrick Patterson has. You know, you need a guy who is able to kind of step in and be productive even if he's not getting major minutes. You know, you need a guy who can kind of produce like a six-man, not necessarily that amount of points, but just with the ability to be effective. And you know, there's just seems to be too many mental lapses with him when he comes out onto the floor, in my opinion.
Yeah, from everything I've read, it looks like the move to make and the asset to use is Terrence Ross. Just he's shown just enough to keep people tantalized, and he's got that athleticism and that great looking shot, but that just hasn't been consistent. And also the emergence of Norman Powell. You know, he comes in and gives already a certain level of consistency in his rookie year that we've been looking for Ross to do. Like, I still think Ross has the potential to be more of an explosive scorer than Powell. I mean, it's relatively close, but I think Ross does, and I think I think the flashes that he's shown, I think the Raptors hope that can translate into somebody being interested and kind of really going for him, and potentially, you know, packaging one of their picks in Ross to either make room for Biyombo or to go after another free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Terrence Ross just needs a change of scenery. I think he's a capable player, and I think he would move to another team, and I think he would flourish. And like, I mean, not comparing, but if you're looking at OKC and Dion Waiters, I mean, Dion Waiters had a few opportunities on different teams, and it's working out for him in OKC. So it just for some players, it's just the right situation, the right mix, the right system. And I think Terrence Ross is one of those guys that we'll kind of kick ourselves. I mean, if he does move, we're like, oh, look what he's turned into. But it might have never happened with the Raptors. You know what I mean? So, and then like you said, you would Norm Powell. I mean, he's been phenomenal. I think Masai really likes him. Coach Casey really likes him. I mean, the Raptors do have young talent too. I mean, with Powell and Nogueira and even Bruno Caboclo, like. We still have yet to see like what he has to offer as well. So I think the future is bright for the Raptors. And in the Eastern Conference, I mean, I think the Raptors are in a good spot. Like now, I mean, the focus is just trying to.
Atlantic Division.
Yeah, in the Atlantic Division. I mean, the Celtics are coming up. I mean, the Celtics for sure.
They are on the rise, but it's going to be a little while, I think, before we see consistency from the Celtics. They're a quality team, but the thing I don't really like about the Celtics right now is that they are relying on offensively on a player who's really small, and it's like it's not a knock against Isaiah Thomas, but I'm just wondering, you know, just looking backwards at, like, you know, Allen Iverson or even what they're doing in Charlotte with Kemba Walker. I don't know if you can get to where you want to be solely with a player of that stature as your star. You need to be able to continue to build around him. They got Jay Crowder, who's a good defensive player, and he's on the tip of my tongue. He was in Indiana, was also in Philadelphia. Evan Turner. You know, he's shown, you know what I mean, some different things as well, but I don't know that you're going to get much more out of him. So I think the Celtics are trying to make some moves too. I definitely think they're trying to bring in, a major player. Whether they're able to do it or not, we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean,
started some people doing KD pitches from the Celtics.
But I mean, as funny as the KD thing, it's just like you got to look at the East. And you're gonna say the East. If you can get past LeBron, I mean, you're golden. Because like, if you can build that team that can kind of beat LeBron, then I think that's where you want to be. And if you're in the West, that's tough. I mean, maybe that's where you want to be is in the East, because which is the weaker conference, obviously. Like, I mean, we've seen it this season. So it'd be interesting to see if there is anybody. I mean, if there is a lot of any changes in the East and a team trying to make a move so they can kind of just know that they have to face LeBron and get to the finals, as opposed to the West where it's just tough to get through. What do you think?
Yeah, it's gonna be. It all kind of depends on where KD ends up as a big part.
Yeah. Where do you think though? Where do you think KD? Do you think KD just stays?
I think he stayed. Like after the game, he made it a point to really thank all of his teammates, and especially like Waiters disappeared, or he had terrible games the last 3 games. But that whole playoff run, I thought he was pretty impressive and really making strides. And just the fact that they beat one of the best teams ever in the Spurs, and then also another one of the best teams ever just came up short. 7 games. That's nothing. That's no slouch of a team right there.
That's right. Yeah. Nothing. It's nothing to be up. Nothing to be ashamed about.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Not at all. So we'll see what the offseason brings. I mean, we'll see the.
But I mean, the curse, right?
The curse. Yeah. The curse.
That's one of the things I was thinking of though was when I was saying before the series that I don't care who wins between Golden State and OKC, but then I do kind of like Golden State better. And then when they were looking like they were about to win, I was thinking they took the team away from Seattle. I don't like that. They were, these teams, Grizzlies taking away everything from the Northwest there. It's terrible. I never want to see those teams win championships because of that.
No Memphis, no OKC.
Yeah, exactly. Get your own damn teams.
So, I mean, just before, I'm going to wrap this up soon. Coach Casey, what did you think of his performance this year? And do you think Messiah said it, but do you think he's the right coach for this team?
I think you just have to let him keep coaching, because of the fact that he's shown improvement with the team, and he's been getting the team to buy in more and more each year to his defensive principles. And I think that is, going to pay dividends. It's shown it thus far, and I think if players continue to buy into it, it will continue to have a positive effect. Now, of course, Coach Casey gets knocked all the time in social media that he's not necessarily as advanced with his offensive sets and such, talking about high pick and roll all the time, this and that. So that would be the only thing, would be, do people think that he has enough to be able to bring to the table to continue to advance the team offensively and change things up from that perspective. But for me, with what he's shown and what he's done in the, I think it's 5 seasons now that he's been there, you got to give the man his opportunity. I can't put him out the door. You know what I mean? Like, he's been a part of this growth, and it's been a steady growth, and I think he deserves the opportunity to see more time there.
And if they got eliminated the first round,
he would have gone. He would have been so gone.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, at this point, he's in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, he had the 500 wins this season, and just Kyle DeMar. I mean, have been making progress. I mean, DeMar especially. I mean, he's been getting better every year. I mean, those are 2 All-Stars. So, I mean, Coach Casey, I think you have to roll with the guy. I mean, none of us, I'm not going to say none of us, but a lot of people didn't expect the Raptors to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. And the fact that they're there this year, I mean, you can't knock Coach Casey at all. I mean, I'm sure there's been terrible games, in this playoffs by this Raptors team, and adjustments weren't made that you would expect the coach to make, but at the end of the day, I mean, they were winning games. 10 wins in 20 playoff games. I mean, you can't complain about that. I mean, like this team has been phenomenal. I think this season. So, I mean, we're gonna see Coach Casey back, Lowry. I mean, hopefully DeRozan and JV and those guys. So hopefully we'll see how this offseason plays out.
That's right.
And
Look
see where
forward
this
to the
team goes.
draft, summer league.
Yeah, exactly. The summer league's pretty much almost here now. I mean, we're not used to having Raptors play up basketball in this
Yeah.
league.
It's late. I know, right? It's unreal. It's unreal.
So before I sign off, Cavs, Golden State in the finals. What's your guys' prediction?
Gee. Man. Oh, gosh.
Yui, you got your prediction?
You know what? Last year, people were saying, "Oh, Cleveland would have won if everybody was healthy."
Mhm.
I thought it would have been more competitive, and I thought Golden State still had another gear. If Cleveland would have stepped it up last year, I thought Golden State could have stepped it up even more. And I think if everybody was healthy last year, I thought it was going to be a toss-up in the same way that a few years back Heat Spurs was. And I think that's what it's going to be this year. Just, who can hit more threes, who can execute better, who can perform better as a team, because they're pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
They do things a little differently, going through LeBron to open things up, or on the Golden State side, using Clay and Steph's shooting ability to open things up. But, still, either way, they get everybody else involved and get cooking with the threes. It just depends, man. It just depends.
Yeah.
It's a toss-up.
It's a toss-up. Yeah, it's a toss-up. That's why I really couldn't pick. I don't know, man. Like, I say it's going 7 games. I'll give you that. I'll give you a 7-game series. But the winner, just like in the last series, I just said a toss-up in the Western Conference Finals. Obviously I picked Raptors in 7. That didn't come to fruition. Wishful thinking on my part, obviously. But in the West, I called a toss-up. It basically was. I think it's going to be the same here. May the best team win.
So no predictions.
No prediction. Can't call it. Too tough, man. I don't care either. Like, I just want to see good basketball. It's like, okay, if LeBron wins, then LeBron brings home a championship for Cleveland. Awesome. If the Warriors win, then they finish their dream season, right? So that's great for NBA history. Even though I'm a Bulls fan, I'd like to see the Bulls be able to hold that, as the only team to have created a championships, have a championship in a season where they broke the best overall record in NBA history. So, but I'm not the type to try and begrudge, another team. History's going to play out regardless of what I want. So, you know what I mean? Why put myself through that agony? Just watch the games and enjoy them, and whatever happens, happens, and then I can kind of play revisionist history after the fact.
Well, you have lots of people on your side of things for sure.
Yeah.
After reading all the things that I read this year, for sure.
Oh man, yes.
All right. That's it for the podcast. That was just our wrap-up podcast for the 2015-2016 Raptors season. Stay tuned to the blogs, hiphoopjunkies.com, hoopheadsnorth.com. Check us out on iTunes, on YouTube. Leave comments, leave reviews. Follow us on Twitter at Romy Kino, at Sean Francois, at Ewe the Jock, at hoopheadsnorth, at hiphoopjunkies.
One last thing.
Yes.
And follow Team Canada.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, that is coming up, baby. Get that qualification. It's going to be a tough road to qualification, but it's coming, and that will be fun.
Olynyk not playing, though.
I know. You get that surgery on his shoulder, right?
And what about Jamal Murray? Will he be out because of draft?
He will not be playing.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So.
What about Anthony Bennett? Anthony Bennett can be playing?
Hopefully. To be honest, I hope he does.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Based on the way he played last year, he needs that confidence boost, man.
For sure.
Let's get him going. Let's get the
Yeah.
man.
I just had a random open gym on the other day, and I was like, Anthony Bennett. I was like, oh, I forgot he was on the Raptors this year.
Yeah. Unfortunate how that played out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get that man. Let's get that man these reps. Hopefully he's been staying in shape, and let's get him these reps
That's
in
right.
the qualification.
Okay, episode 98. Go Team Canada. We out.